Welcome to this week's live ASX strategy session. Great to have you with me as always. Plenty of interesting things to go through this week. Some really significant stuff going on in the ASX 200, the commodities movement going on there, particularly in uranium. And I'm sure plenty of stocks to go through when we get to the Q&A at the end, where you're welcome to put in any stock code you like, and I'll have a look at that and talk about the technical structure and some of the possibilities for those stocks. As always, everything today is general commentary only. It doesn't take your personal situation into account. So having been through all that, let's jump straight into those charts. So I've got to start with, got the ASX 200 up here on the screen. And this has been what I think is one of the most significant weeks for the ASX 200 this year. Now, you wouldn't immediately think so looking at this chart. Doesn't look anything that significant has happened when you look at the last week's price action. Sure, the price action has been positive, but it's really just within the range of what we had last week. What's so significant? Well, it's not actually on this chart. I'm going to come back to this in a moment. I'll come back to the ASX 200 in a few moments. But this week, I want to start with the ASX 200 equal weight. It's the equal weight index, which has been the one which I think has been the most significant. So just changing across the S&P 500 equal weight for today's start. And this is where I think the significant price action has been happening. So the equal weight has broken out of this 6-month trading range. So let me just draw that range in for you. This is the 6-month range. The equal weight has been tracking sideways within, and just was really yesterday, Thursday, and Wednesday's price action, which has taken the market outside of the range. So we have a breakout after 6 long months of tracking sideways. There were 2 false breaks in April. Not in April, in August. In August, we had a false break to the top side. Only briefly, one day, the market poked above the highs, but then came back. Then we had a brief false break to the downside a few days later. Market couldn't take the market lower, back within the range, and now we have the what I think is the real breakout. And I think this is the real thing. And I say that because it's not just a gentle push higher, but it really is a powerful breakout to the upside. So just looking at the rally off the September low. So just coming back a few weeks to the September low and having a look at this rally. So the equal weight is up about 7.5% in 14 days. And if you look at what the ASX 200 has done over the same period, it's up about 4.5%. So 7.5 versus 4.5. I think the relative strength in the equal weight is a sign of broad-based buying across the top 200. So it's not just focused on a particular sector. It's not just focused on big banks or miners or any one sector. I think this breakout is showing that it's broad-based, and the strength, the relative strength we're seeing, I think it's a sign of that broad-based buying. And I think this is positive for the market, as a healthy market should have wide participation, should have many stocks participating. And I think that's what this breakout is telling us. It's also interesting to look at what's going on in the small ordinaries and in the emerging companies index. I'm going to get back to them. I'm going to get to them in a moment. I think they're a big part of the story. I'll also tell you about what I've been buying in the last couple of days. But before we get to that, let's just zoom out and assess the price action that we have with this market. And so starting with we'll start with the October low, the October 23 low. So from last year's low, you can see how the structure flips. So we've got this period of vulnerability where the market is declining below the moving averages. And then we get the flip. We go from below the averages to above, and that's when the bullishness starts. Markets above the moving averages cross, and we start to get that bullish phase. We then get a breakout above this key overhead resistance. You can see where I've got this blue horizontal line at around 1,840. It marks some previous high points. Broke out above the resistance. We then had, after that, this is where the choppy trading range started. Well, we had the interim high was formed in April, then this choppy trading range, which was along the old support, which was along the old resistance, which became support. We've got this meandering sideways, choppy sideways grind above this old resistance region. And it's this period here, it's this trading range. This is classic platform building. So when you get a platform or you get a base, we really talk about bases down to after a market's bottomed out. It forms a base at the low. After you get a rally, then I call it more of a platform. You get a rally and then you get a sideways period, a range. That becomes a platform from which higher prices can be built. And now we've got the breakout, which suggests that the building phase is now underway. Now we often get pullbacks. We often get pullbacks after breakouts, and that just allows the market to consolidate an initial advance. So a typical sort of pullback might come back to, you could get a return move to the top of the old range, the breakout point, or just some sideways action while the moving averages catches up. All these sort of things are possible after a breakout. So a breakout doesn't mean that the market is just going to keep going up day after day. You get that initial momentum surge, and then you can see those pullbacks. So don't be surprised if we do see some sort of near-term weakness following the breakout. But I think overall, the path of least resistance is to the upside. And I think the equal weight is likely to head up towards its January 22 all-time high. So let me just compress this a bit. There's the all-time high in January 2022. I think this breakout has now set the wheels in motion for a move up towards, and then I think odds favor beyond that previous all-time high. Now let's come back to the ASX 200 for a moment, and just quickly coming back to this, nothing's changed from last week. It's still a case of a bullish structure. We've got prices above rising moving averages, the 50-day moving average, the 100-day moving average. Both are making new highs each day, so they're trending higher. I believe the play here, it's just continuing to approach this market from the long side. That's been what we've been talking about all year since the market made that flip back above the moving averages. It's been a case of staying long, sitting through these pullbacks back to the moving averages, and staying long the market. I don't think anything's changed to alter that positioning. And as always, I'm using those wide trailing stops to try and see off those inevitable pullbacks that we do get along the way. You know, the pullbacks, some of them are ugly, some of them are just take a few weeks to play out, but they're all part of a bullish trend. And of course, the trailing stops, they get me out when conditions change. At some point, conditions will change, and we go through a bearish phase, but we don't know when that could be. That's not the focus at the moment. The focus is for me, staying long using those wide trailing stops. Now, if you're getting some value from this, please hit that like button, leave a short comment, just, hey, thanks for the video. It tells YouTube you're watching, and YouTube shows other people. That always helps me heaps, so please do those things. Now, I'm going to move on to the Small Ords and the commodities in a moment, and I'll tell you about, look, I think some really interesting stuff to talk about with the Small Ordinaries, and all your stock codes. So get your stock codes ready so we can go through and have a look at some of those, because there's always some really interesting ideas amongst what you bring up in the stock review section. Now, okay, so let's move on to the Small Ordinaries.